Boom. So much excitement. Tuesday podcast moved from Monday because we have a little wild schedule this week. At least I do. Running the youth camp. That's why my hair, I look like I just stuck my finger in the electric socket.
I got a crazy week too, just because I pissed off every Texas Longhorn fan known to man, and now everybody wants me to talk about Arch Manning. So we're going to get to that down the road. But I don't have camps to run like you do. I just got this stupid social media blowing up.
Well, it's better to talking about you than not talking at all. So,
That's what they say.
well, before we get rolling, I have to say these evaluation I would actually call them evaluations. These promos that we're doing on the players have been fantastic. They're still rolling in for athletes that are looking for an opportunity to get promoted. This is a great time to get a jump start on it. And we got two new guys that are coming down the pike that I think are going to be really good when you get a chance to check them out. But the ones that we've already done have just been phenomenal. Both Mike and I are doing these promos of the players that really have a chance to be something special and to be able to emerge into something special. You can check those out at myfootballcamps.com/D1 or nucsports.com/D1. You know what I mean, Mike?
Have you checked out the new kids?
I know one of them. So
I'm doing it today. Oh yes, that's right. You do know one of them. I'm doing it today. So I'm excited to see what we got. I just put up our buddy Hartman,
Yep.
who's a nasty mauler, road grader, interior, 6'5", 310, 405 bench, 530 squat wrestler. Um, he was just going to get offers. It's just
Oh
we
yeah.
know this. But again, some kids just don't get noticed, and they need that help. And we're going to segue into that too a little bit later about the Arch Manning thing. Is like if Arch Manning wasn't Arch Manning, and his last name wasn't Manning, and his first name wasn't Arch, if he was Sam Jones, he might be in the situation a few of our other quarterbacks are. He plays a low level of competition, on and on. So it's who you know, and if you know us, you're going to be fine. So that's why the promo is really important, because what we say apparently matters, in a good way and in a bad way. I get, when it comes to kids, it's always a good way, but when it comes to my opinion on stuff, you can never make anybody happy ever.
Well, yeah, and especially certain bases that if you offend them, they're pretty large.
Coaches, coaches too, like head
Oh,
football coaches, so
really? Really?
sensitive.
Interest.
Yeah,
That's
you
interesting.
well, you write like five really positive articles and then one little negative article, and it's all of a sudden you get a little text message, and then they want something. And then I responded to one coach this week. They're all millionaires. They make millions of dollars. I responded and I said, it's $100,000 for me to promo for you. It's cheaper for kids, but for you, I know you're making, 5+ mil a year, 100K. And then I got the whole laughy emoji and all that stuff. And I'm like, nope, nope. Here's my Venmo, 100K. Because they got money to burn.
Yes.
So, they get angry though. They really do get upset. And that's the passion of football. So I guess it's better they're paying attention to what I'm writing than ignoring me. But I really would like to have some of their money. I'll tell you that much.
That's the thing. You're getting paid in retweets and likes.
What would I do with all that money though?
All
I
that
don't know what
money?
I'd do. I
Oh,
don't know what I'd do with all that money. I don't know what I'd do. Let's say you're making like 8 million a year as a head coach. I mean, I would work my butt off,
you're working
but
all the
what am I
time
going to
anyway.
do? Am I
Yeah.
going to get a boat? What's the point? You get 1 week off a year, and it's in July, and you can't take it anyways because you got to text constantly with recruits. So I don't know, man. It's like I think I'm happier poor than doing that job. I respect them greatly, and that's another reason why you need the promo, because they can't find everybody. They can't. I don't care. There's film everywhere. This isn't 1997 or six when I started, and I was getting VHS tapes in the mail, and my mailman hated me, because he was bringing like 30 VHS tapes from high schools to me every day. You can find anybody you want nowadays. You just don't know who to find because now there's too much out there. Before, if you got that VHS tape, you might take a look at it 25 years ago. Now, just every email gets deleted unless it's from somebody you know. Every DM gets ignored unless it's somebody you know. And there's probably just too much information out there. And there's a lot of guys out there selling kids higher than they should be sold. And that's the other problem too. You got to tell them where they're at, where they should be looking, and then you go after those coaches, and you don't go to Lincoln Riley with a wide receiver who's got no offers and is a 2023. That's also part of the balance.
That's definitely part of the balance, because otherwise, when you really do have something that is worthwhile to them, they're not going to pay attention. So that's the last thing you want. You want to make sure that when you bring somebody to them, that it's actually someone that's worthwhile them taking a look at if they're going to take a shot on someone, versus you give them someone that's not in the caliber, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, next time you come to them, they're going to, okay.
Yeah. So that's the difference between our program is we're not selling you. We're exposing you. It's different.
That's correct.
We're promoting you. If they like you, they like you. If they look at you and don't like you, they don't like you. But we're not knocking on their door over and over again and say, you got to take a look at this kid. It's going to be your abilities put out to a larger audience. It's almost like your internet. Your internet sucks, right? Today sucks.
Correct.
Your upload is garbage. You're supposed to have like a terabyte or whatever. You got 40 something megahertz, whatever. I don't know anything about it, right? What we're doing is we're taking your crappy internet and we're opening the funnel, and we're providing a bigger broadband spectrum for kids to be looked at. That's my analogy. The day is that we're not changing anything. You're still who you are. We're just exposing you to a larger pool of people, and that may be just what you need.
The boost. That's how they sell the boosts for your. That's what it is. It's a boost.
You got it. You bought it. You're not getting it today.
No, it's horrendous. I can't believe.
I know it gets you pissed off. That's why I'm trying to get you pissed off.
No, yeah, it's definitely like I always have the big smile going, but I'm really frustrated with that.
But that'd be fun to talk about conference realignment and our.
Oh, well, let's talk conference realignment.
What
the heck is going on?
I'm going to tell you what's going on. Ready? Nothing. So here's what happens. Texas and Oklahoma, out of the blue, this happened. They're going to the SEC. First of all, that was years in the making. USC, UCLA, out of the blue. That was also years in the making. Now everybody's searching for the next one. And they're expecting it to happen this week. And I saw somebody say, the Big 12 media days are coming up. They're going to make a huge announcement by then. No, they're not. No, this is slow. This is a crawl. There was talk Big 10 with Notre Dame. There's talk with Big 10 turning down Washington and Oregon. Now there's talk of SEC staying pat at 16 teams. All of this is just rumor and garbage and innuendo from unnamed sources. My speculation is, yes, we're going to have conference realignment. It is going to be a slow crawl. It's going to happen. There's going to be 3 or 4 standing at most, 2 at the least. But this isn't like, I better refresh my Twitter feed because something could happen this very second. That's not the way it's working.
No, and I thought that what was going on was that these people were just jumping ship left and right. But then I saw how the ACC has some clause, obviously, that if Clemson was to vote, $500 million or something crazy. I mean, they're not paying that, so they're not going anywhere. I mean,
no. But how many rumors did you hear that the SEC is going to steal Clemson, Miami, North Carolina, and Virginia?
Yep.
Each of those teams, if they decide to leave the ACC, have to pay $500 million. So I could spit out a rumor right now. I'll just make one up. Virginia Tech's going to the SEC. I can make it up. Why not? I could say there's an unnamed source. Be my dog. who's drinking water right now. But the reality of it is this is a business decision. Now, the intriguing part for me is the ACC. If they make changes to the ACC, if they add Notre Dame or they try to go get like Cal or Stanford or somebody else, then grant of rights could be legally challenged. And then they open Pandora's box, and then we don't know what's going to happen. But if the ACC stays put and just sits, they're okay. That's my feeling.
Yep. And then the Pac-12, I thought, how could they survive without USC and UCLA? And then now, saw a bunch of stuff with Oregon this, Oregon that. Phil Knight doesn't want to be in the Pac-12 if obviously USC and UCLA aren't in there. Is he going to the Big Ten? I mean, where is he going? I do think, I thought that ACC was collapsing. I think I put something out there. I made like a little video, like after seeing all those false rumors. I said, "Oh my goodness, the ACC collapsing." But as soon as I heard the $500 million payout, I knew obviously that's not happening. I think the Pac-12 is definitely one that's in limbo, just because their money's not enough. They're not getting enough money for their deal.
Nope.
And you have a couple of big dog. Well, the one really big dog, Oregon, who has the biggest donor you possibly could get, which is Phil Knight and Nike. And then you have other pretty big players, even though, the West Coast doesn't get they have bases. Washington has a base. Utah has a base that's going to be unhappy with the Pac-12 unless they figure something out.
And they don't have the grant of rights. They don't have this lock-in, this multi-million-dollar. Their TV deal isn't locked in till 2036, which I think is stupid, but it helps the ACC in many ways because they're grant of rights. But no, the Pac-12 is right for the picking. So is the Big 12. That's why you can see this movement. The Big 12 loses teams. The Pac-12 loses teams because they don't have that solid basis. The SEC and Big Ten will never lose teams because the TV deal is so lucrative that they're making so much money. They would only have to step down from money. And then you've got the ACC, like I said, is pretty solid with the way they're structured. So I can see the Big 12 and the Pac-12 having some stuff going on. One of them might merge with the other or take over the other. I could see that happening. But that's still not something that's going to happen like this week. It takes a while for these things to occur. But 2024 is coming, and that's when USC and UCLA are gone. Texas and Oklahoma are going in 2025. So between now and those years, you're going to see movement, but not, the week of, it's July 12th. You're not going to see movement, I don't think, this week.
Right. I mean, and then if it doesn't happen in the next few weeks, it's probably not going to go do anything until the end of the season, right? Because what are you going to do? I mean, I can't see anyone moving in August. I don't know.
It could be. I mean, it could be negotiated and announced, but the timing of it is off season for sure is the time to announce this stuff, the spring and the summer. But last year there were talks between Texas and Oklahoma and the SEC during the football season. There were talks between USC and UCLA and some conferences during the football season. That's when the quiet stuff occurs and everybody's focusing on the games. There's going to be behind the scenes discussions and movements, but I don't think you'll see any sort of crazy, pre-Saturday football announcement that, 4 teams are leaving for the Big 12.
Right. I tend to agree. The frenzy made for good tweets and retweets and all that kind of stuff, but not actual real frenzy. So let's the one thing is interesting. So before we talk about Arch is the trickle down effect of conference movement. And it's interesting because I have a friend that's associate commissioner of a conference, a small Division I conference, more basketball, but they have football. And he says it trickles all the way down to them, those things that happen. Because if you pull one team out from a conference, and let's say San Diego State goes to the Pac-12. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just making that up. All right. Whatever conference they were in, I can't remember what kind of conference is, but so someone else now has to pull someone in that conference. So it goes all the way down the line, all the way down, all the way to like the FCS level as guys keep pulling in. And then you see like at the lowest FCS level, you see some of these conferences pulling in schools like Stonehill and, other like be going to FCS from Division II. It's interesting because it's a monument. People don't realize it's actually a gigantic money shift all the way around when they move from one conference to another because people are moving. Some groups are upgrading. Like I put out a tweet. I don't know if I put it out as a tweet or on Facebook to my friends. I can't remember. But I put out like, UConn, this is your chance. The ACC's collapsing, right? As a UConn, I'm like, it's funny. It came up in my feed as I put something on Facebook. It was like last year around this time. Something must have been happening with alignment, and I said, UConn, this is your chance. I don't remember it was the ACC or something, and I posted something about it. I feel like that's what happens. Like, but UConn never takes advantage of any opportunity.
Well, UConn blew it. UConn decided, I live in Connecticut, and Blumenthal got involved and sued. He sued Boston College in Miami, and he sued Virginia Tech, and it failed. And guess what those teams said? We're never, ever, ever coming into a conference. And the game that UConn needed, which was the local rivalry with BC, that got canceled. Gene DiFilippo, to this day, probably has a UConn dartboard. He's not at BC anymore, but they made then they tried to glom onto Notre Dame. And that's, that's Notre Dame is the hot model, and it's like, if you're a 2, you ain't hanging with a 10. It's just, you're just not going to glom onto that and get the rewards that Notre Dame is going to get. So their strategy from day one was bad. They were desperate and scared to death when the Big East was disbanding that they were going to be left behind, whereas Pitt and Syracuse kind of handled it properly and ended up getting invited to the ACC. So, and now UConn is an independent. They're gonna, all the money they put into the football facility is wasted money. Tuition's up. Professors have been laid off. Rentschler Field is got 12,000 people a game instead of 45. They're just a nightmare. That's just an example of how you can be left behind and handle things the wrong way. And that's what some teams have to be careful about in realignment is, West Virginia, you could be scared because you're a fish out of water in the Big 12, and you were almost left behind last time because the ACC didn't want you because of their academics, and the SEC didn't want you just because they didn't want you. But if you panic, and you start making dumb decisions and moves, you could really hurt yourself. So just chill, relax. You've got a conference right now. It's a Power 5 conference. Big 12 is alive and well. Play the season. Have your negotiations. Talk to Pitt. That's your backyard brawl partner. They might be your ticket to the ACC eventually. Be smart about it, though. Don't do what UConn did. UConn is the poster child for how to ruin your football program.
Poster. Absolute, positively poster child. They were at the mountaintop at one point. They had played in Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. How could they screw that up? I get in arguments with my friends about this. But
then their coach, who's a complete jerk, flies from the Fiesta Bowl to where? College Park, Maryland. Doesn't tell the team he's leaving, takes the job at Maryland, blah, blah, blah. Like, they were at a BCS bowl game, Fiesta Bowl, and then they just let everything fall apart and crumble. And I get it. Listen, I grew up in Connecticut. I went to UConn for 1 year, 1988 to 89. I graduated high school my freshman year. I drank. I didn't study. I didn't go to class. I got like a 1.0 and I got booted. But I went to UConn. I partied at UConn. I stayed at in the jungle. I went to all the basketball and football games. I don't hate UConn in any way, shape, or form, but I do laugh a little bit at what they let themselves become because there's an arrogance in Connecticut overall that because they were winning basketball that
Sure.
they could just pick what they wanted to do in football, and basketball doesn't pay the bills. I mean, it helps. Kansas is going to be okay. Kentucky's going to be okay. You know, Duke's going to be okay, but UConn basketball wasn't going to do it for you. So it's a shame. And yes, there's going to be teams left out, and we won't know about that probably for 2 or 3 years. And some teams should be scared. If I'm Wake Forest, I'm scared. If the ACC somehow disbands, I'm a small school, and I don't bring a lot to the table when it comes to TV market. Or if I'm West Virginia, I'm scared because the Big 12, if they fold, I have no TV market, and I don't bring anything to the table really. So teams should be scared, but we won't know who's going to be left out, I think, for a couple of years.
Yeah, it is incredibly. I tell you the money that it's going into different things, and the other thing is with streaming. Like, it always. I'm curious what you think about like how does streaming has to start to play a much larger role financially, but I just don't know if anybody knows exactly how that should play a much larger role. Like, I can't see Amazon, and I don't know if they already have some relationships, not getting into the mix at some point on this,
They
right?
will. They
Yeah.
absolutely will. 100% will. And Kirk Herbstreit's doing stuff for Amazon. You know, he's still at ESPN, but he's doing stuff for Amazon. I mean, there's signs there for sure that Amazon's going to get involved in this, and that the streaming rights will be not as important as the TV rights, but will be very important. And it's not just Amazon; it's others. Peacock is NBC's premium affiliate. I pay a subscription for Peacock because I like golf, and they have like coverage of golf that you can't get if you're watching the U.S. Open. You got to wait until, I don't know, certain time for CBS or somebody to start covering it. Peacock, you can watch it from 8 a.m. on. And they have premium shows. They're going to get involved. Other affiliates like that will get involved, and that will help, raise the value of places. But it's not an out for West Virginia just because you can stream stuff, because we see how streaming is still so unreliable. We look at your connection today, and it's like, if I'm a huge fan and I'm stuck streaming, and let's say I'm a Notre Dame fan and they're playing Ohio State in week 1, and my internet's crapping, I'm losing my mind. So streaming's not there yet. It's close, but it's not there yet. So, but that's going to play a part. Everything's going to play a part. Oh, wait. USC Regents, hold on. UC Regents to discuss UCLA's move to the Big Ten next week. Litigation cited. Okay. So does that mean Cal is going to sue?
You went dark, by the way.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, I went dark because I'm checking stuff.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. So here's what's happening. I'm back. Sorry.
You're back.
I was checking Twitter. So now there's litigation and lawsuit to stop UCLA. They're not going after USC, but they're going after UCLA. And I don't know enough about the politics of California, but there's going to be litigation to stop this move to the Big Ten, and they're going to have to cut through all of that stuff too. And that just came out today, this very moment, and that's part of this process.
Well, USC is a private school, right? So, and UCLA is not. UCLA is publicly funded.
Right. So they can. So the UC. It's not Cal. It's actually the UC Regents. They can try to stop this, and of course, if they stop UCLA, then that's going to. USC needs UCLA. They won't admit it, but they do, because they can't go alone. they need a partner, they need a rival, they need somebody else to bear the brunt of travel with them to sell that, to their student body, their board of directors, all that stuff too. If USC just says we're out, sorry UCLA, then UCLA is going to start firing at them, and then things are going to get ugly. So
yeah, well, their boosters cross over. So they have a huge crossover. UCLA and USC. So many people who go to USC have a relative that's gone to UCLA,
right.
and it's a big thing back and forth. In California, I mean, you've been in California, like people who have family and stuff. That is like one goes UCLA, the other one goes USC. Like it's all over the place, and so if one was to go without the other, just the relationship, you're actually families of fan bases by having both. If you only have one or the other, then you're mobilizing animosity that would collapse the thing, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so, and I don't know if this is going to stop. I mean, everybody sees everybody in this world. So, but that just came through. So it's interesting. There's going to be things like that are going to break, but I don't think you're going to get like, by Friday, Big 12 adds 4 teams. It just, unless it's been in the works for a very long time. And I know the Big 12 added UCF and Houston and Cincinnati and BYU. And because they added BYU, there's no doubt in my mind that the Big 12 has had discussions with Utah, and it's there, but I don't think it's easy to finalize it like that and just counter. Okay, we lost USC, UCLA. We're going to get these, and it's going to happen within 2 weeks. So, but again, the rumors are great. Let's keep them flowing. There's one guy out there, and I won't name his name, but he just throws a rumor out every day, and he's very well known. And I shake my head. I'm like, how do you even sleep at night? How do you live with yourself? Just making crap up. And how do you keep any credibility, any semblance of credibility, when 95% of what you're throwing at the wall is wrong? But people don't care. They just want rumors. They don't want actual facts.
Well, I think that's a big problem. It gives them something to talk about. I love. So you brought up Arch Manning earlier, right? Talking about fan bases, the biggest maybe the biggest fan base in college football. Maybe next to Notre Dame's probably the biggest fan base because nationwide they're so big. But outside of maybe Notre Dame, Texas has to have one of the 2 or 3 largest fan bases in the country.
Yeah.
And you earlier in the week talked to something.
Well, I said it yesterday because someone asked me the question on a podcast: is Arch Manning overrated? And I went further, and I said that if he wasn't Arch Manning and you just put that film in front of someone, he'd be a 3-star. So that's gone a little viral today. I'm getting a lot of hate mail, getting a lot of threats. People lose their mind. But I really do believe some of the quarterbacks we've seen over the years, if we didn't know who they were, there's nothing that would tell us that they were. And I'll use Jimmy Clausen as an example. Okay. I will tell you this: if Jimmy Clausen wasn't so hyped up as the LeBron of high school football, and you watched his film, he was good, but he was not a guy that you'd say is the number 1 player in the country.
I think that's when you watch Arch Manning's film, it's very hard to really evaluate because of the level of competition. Exactly how good those throws are. Like I saw someone come out with something. This was a couple of days ago, and it may have, maybe it was yesterday. Maybe I saw it yesterday, and maybe it was people making TikToks off of what you said, kind of like piggybacking. But it was videos I saw that guys were talking about, like showing his clips, like, oh, he doesn't throw a ton of long balls. I saw long balls that were right on the money. The question is, those DBs that are covering them, he knows those guys are open. As a quarterback, I would think that if you know your guy's going to be open 95% of the time just because your guy is better than their guy, it probably makes it much more relaxing to throw the ball, in my opinion. So is he that good of a passer? Is it really that he knows his guys are open? It's different than when you got to fit a ball in, you know what I mean? Because the other guy's as fast as that your guy. Like when Don Bosco plays Bergen Catholic, in New Jersey, for example, like
Yeah.
those quarterbacks, they know that there's at least two Division I guys on the other side of the defensive backfield and maybe three. So when they throw the balls, they've got to put it on the money. They've got to take advantage of open opportunities. It looks like in Arch's thing and most of his throws, everybody's open, right? So it's like, I don't know, it's kind of crazy.
The point I was making was just that he's a hard evaluation, and that if his name wasn't Manning, there was no way on earth that people would have him as number one player in the country and a 5-star. And I look at these quarterbacks in this class, and it's a very, very deep quarterback class. An Elite 11, I don't put a ton of value into the Elite 11 because it's a lot of, malarkey and routes on air and, whatever. But the more quarterbacks that emerged after watching them throw at the Elite 11, then you go back and watch their film, and then you find things you like, and then you go back and watch Archer's film. And what the point was is that guys were sliding down. I mean, Arch was sliding down as guys were sliding up. The more people I watched, he had a horrible playoff game, absolutely horrible when he stepped up in competition.
Who did they lose to in the playoffs?
I forget the team. They got destroyed.
They play like Evangel Christian or any of those kind of teams, or no?
It wasn't that high. Hold on.
They don't play Catholic, right?
It was. And again, this game is not going to. It was the semifinals, Lafayette Christian Academy.
I don't even know what that is.
LHSAA Division III playoffs. So it's still not huge, right? It's not 6A football in Florida. It's not, high level in Texas. But, he had a bad game, and that's not going to appear on the highlight film. It's not going to be something that a lot of people really see. And I'm not basing it on that. He was 7 of 16, 52 yards, threw a touchdown and a pick. The offense was 3 and out most of the time. His team isn't good. I mean, he's bigger than maybe a couple of his offensive linemen.
Right.
They're really, really small. They're not fast. I mean, it's a private school with a lot of money, but that doesn't make them good football players. So he's a tough evaluation in that respect. But every high school kid's a tough evaluation because, you see, like Damian Harris is a good example. He's with the Patriots now, scored, I don't know, like 12 touchdowns last year in the NFL. 5-star kid out of Kentucky, went to Alabama, ran over very average competition. So I saw him at the Under Armour game, and I'm like, okay, now I get to see him against other high-level competitors, and he fits. He's good. He's the real deal. There was little doubt in my mind he was a 5-star. He had an okay career, not a great career at Alabama. I think he was a 3rd rounder or 4th rounder. Now he's one of the, best touchdown guys in the NFL. Great. Not a Hall of Famer or anything like that. But with Arch, you can't really compare that apples to apples. He's not going to go to the Elite 11. He's not going to go to camps. He's not going to go to all-star games. He's just not. So it's a tough evaluation. And my point was simply this, that if you got that film in the mail, or if you watched it on online, and it said this kid had no offers, and this kid's name was, Bill Smith, you would look at it and you say, 3-star at best, probably should have offers, but 5 and number 1 in the country is a tough sell. So it's not disparaging him. This is huge for Texas. I mean, he's a huge name kid. They beat Alabama and Georgia. And listen, Kirby Smart wanted him, and Nick Saban wanted him. Now, they're defensive coaches, but Bill O'Brien wanted him. He's been a general manager, head football coach at the NFL level. And Todd Monken wanted him at Georgia. So these guys are smarter than me. So they beat the last 2 national champions for him. This is a big deal. I'm not saying he sucks, but I'm saying the hype, he's never going to live up to it. And I think the debate should be more whether he's a 4-star and what range in the 4 stars. or maybe a low 5-star, but not the number one player in the country.
Playing devil's advocate, Peyton Manning played there at that same high school. So did Eli, and so did Odell Beckham. So it's interesting that, and I can't imagine Odell Beckham didn't look like the greatest player in the history of football playing at that level. I would love to see what that looks
He
like.
did. He was
He
a
did.
better defensive back than a wide
Okay.
receiver, believe it or not. But he was
Okay.
awesome. He was awesome, and he was a 4-star kid in the Rivals 100 when I was doing it, and he made the All-American Bowl. And I think Arch can be in that discussion, but there was really no way to say Odell Beckham's going to be the greatest ball skill highlight film,
Right.
pass catcher ever.
Right.
Peyton was different. Peyton was consensus 5-star recruit. Eli was a consensus 4-star, 5-star. And I think Arch is in that 4-star top 100 range and stuff. And maybe he'll prove me wrong. I will tell you this, based on physical skills, between Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers, there's not a comparison. Quinn Ewers' arm is so much better. His arm talent's so much better. His off-platform stuff is so much better. Now, between the ears, does he have what it takes to be a Manning? He's a Ewers. We don't know. That's going to be the differentiator between these two quarterbacks.
Right.
And that's why you gravitate towards a 5 for Arch. If he's a 4, you gravitate towards 5 because his name's Manning. And Archie was great. And Peyton was great. And Eli was great. And his dad was a great athlete before he had the diagnosis, spinal stenosis, where he had to retire. You take the genetics into play, but I don't know. Whatever. I said it. People are going nuts. And now they all want me to disparage the kid. And I'm not going to do that. I'm just saying there's no way he lives up to what is being portrayed. And people are going to want him to fail because that's the world. 95% of the world hates Tom Brady. And he's the best quarterback ever lived.
Right.
And they all want him to fail because they're not, right now they're not Buccaneer fans. They weren't Patriots fans. And the kid's going to be rooted against like crazy. And there's some people in the state of Louisiana that just do not like him because they think he was born on third base. It's not my fault.
It's crazy. It's really, really an interesting topic because after seeing some of the Elite 11 guys, the kid Nico is just like, obviously his arm and all that, but like watching him jump in volleyball, like it's just bonkers how high he gets off the ground. And
yeah, I'm still working on his last name too. I mean, I got Tua's name wrong for 2 years.
Tua Tagovailoa.
And then who was the other one I got wrong? I still get it wrong. Oh, DJ Uungalele at Clemson. I still say that wrong. So Iamaleava, Nico is good enough, but you're right. But here's the thing. Ready? Guess how many picks he threw in his entire season last year?
Who's this?
Nico.
Oh, Nico. I'm guessing it's low since 2?
1.
Wow.
And that's pretty good competition, right? So if Arch is throwing 1 in the playoffs against competition that can't even come close to what Nico faces on a weekly basis, then, and Nico didn't go to the Elite 11. A lot of people say this, oh, he didn't go to the Elite 11, he's afraid. He's not afraid. Arch Manning's not afraid.
He doesn't need to. He doesn't need to go to the Elite 11.
What's the point? Let's say he has some fluke injury where he tears his rotator cuff or something, or he gets hit in the face with a ball and breaks his nose. None of it's worth it, right? Nico's playing with his team in volleyball, and it was his dream to be an Elite 11 quarterback, so he had to make that choice. Arch Manning, I can tell you, the last dream he ever had when he grew up was being a freaking Elite 11 quarterback. He's a Manning. He's in royalty. So it's not because he didn't participate that there's this hate. Nico didn't participate either. But Nico, I think he's a little overrated too. But
when you're at the top at quarterback, I think overrated can be an issue, because if I say this guy's 1 and this guy's 2 and this guy's 3, and then you start looking at 10 or 12, right? And you're like, well, 10 is really might be better than 2 and 3. It's tough. Quarterback to me is the one position that, like, when you get rated like really high, I could go through your film and be like, I really don't like this now. Now that I'm looking at it, I don't really like this. The one thing I liked about Arch, just the clips that I've seen, his Peyton threw the same way, that it looks like they're throwing darts. It comes out very quick, so it looks like they're throwing a dart, and it allows you to get rid of the ball quickly. It doesn't mean you won't make mistakes, but it allows you to really get rid of the ball quickly. And I think that's hard. It's hard for people to throw that dart wise and get enough on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, some reason they're able to get enough on it, but most guys can't. Most guys need some whip. He doesn't really throw with a ton of whip. And Peyton did through that way, and that's why he was able to get the ball out of his hands so quickly. But doesn't mean that you're going to be a great quarterback. It just means that he has that same style.
It's an extremely catchable ball,
right?
It's spiral from start to finish. People say, okay, who's the best passer you've ever seen at the high school level? And to me, it's Trevor Lawrence. And there was this, just a catchable ball. He always knew where to lead you, but also the ball wasn't coming in wobbly. It wasn't even when he was on the run or under duress, he wasn't throwing an ugly wobbly ball. And Peyton was like that until the end when his arm went and he was throwing ducks with the Broncos and stuff. Arch has that natural gift, of the spiral and the catchable football, and that's important. The best passer I've ever seen throw a spiral ever is Troy Aikman, ever. Now, Troy Aikman is not under consideration with Tom Brady or Joe Montana or any of the others to be the greatest quarterback to ever live. But when you're talking about accuracy and just a ball that never, if you watch those NFL films, that ball never flutters, ever. It's perfect. And I will give Arch that. He throws a nice ball. He's got size. He's more mobile than either of his uncles were. There are a lot of things to like about him. In this day and age, if you say a 5-star could be a 3 on blind film, you might as well say he sucks. Because that's what people think. If you rate a kid 3 stars, and then he sucks. In the Alabama class, there's 5 4s, and if there's a 3, it's like, why do we even take this kid? And he could be, better than anybody. And that's kind of the world we live in, where it's just judgy. I just know how this works. I know how it works. I know how evaluators look at stuff. And it happens at the college level too. I'm sorry, it just does. Sometimes you offer a kid because someone else did. Sometimes you offer a kid because you're not sold on him, but you're going to take a chance. And then, sometimes you offer a kid because his name is Manning. And then you stay in it and you stay in it and you stay in it because the kid likes you. Now, if you had Nick Saban under oath or on a lie detector, he might say that he likes Eli Holstein or somebody else better than Arch Manning. He might say that. It might be true. Nobody really gets to look at these boards. But people just assume that Georgia has Arch number 1 and Alabama has Arch number 1 and Texas has Arch number 1. That may not be the case. So anyways, listen, I didn't say it for tension. I didn't say it for hatred. I just said it. And it's like people don't like any opinion that flies in the face of their own.
Oh, well, today, nobody. Yeah. Oh my goodness. If you have a different opinion of somebody else, you're the bad guy. So that's not surprising.
Well, imagine this too, Dave. Ready? Let's say Arch Manning. Let's say Texas gets off to a bad start, gets destroyed by Alabama, and then Oklahoma routs him, and he flips his commitment to Georgia. What do you think the Texas fans are going to say about Arch Manning then?
Oh, he's overrated.
He sucks. We don't want him. He would have been a locker room cancer. I'm so glad we don't have them. That's fanhood. That's just the way it is, and that's the way you should be. But it's not my job to be a fan. It's not my job to look at that and say, "Wow, this is really cool for Texas."
Dude, awesome stuff. I mean, I love when when I see some of the stuff that you put out, and I see some of the comments. They're hilarious. First of all, half of them are hilarious. Um, Even when they're trying to be offensive, but they're hilarious. But like, I remember with the wide receivers, like I did. Oh, I know. I know what I got. So I commented on your QB thing. I think I did a TikTok or something commenting on your QB. Someone wrote about what's a quarterback was at Auburn that's now Bo Nix.
Bo
Bo
Nix,
Nix.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, there's no way Bo Nix is. I don't know what you put him 48 or something.
49.
49. There's no way Bo Nix is 49. That's what they wrote. That has to be an Oregon fan.
And I've talked to many, many people who have coached Bo Nix at a high school and college level, and those people didn't argue. They coached the kid, and they didn't argue. And these moronic idiot fans are like, he might not even win the job. There's a guy named Ty Thompson there that's really good. Who's a 5-star from Arizona that might win that job. So it is. But listen, I love it. I have to love it. I don't like the death threats and all that. I mean, come on, let's just chill, right? You don't have to threaten to come to my house and kill me because I said something like that.
Wow,
That's
alarming.
Oh, it happens. It happens.
Oh,
It's kind of stupid. That's a little ridiculous. Okay. There's some unstable people, so you don't know whether that's serious or not. And I'm not saying I get a lot of those. I have gotten them over the years. I know coworkers of mine who have gotten them over the years as well. You know, I'm okay with anything in between death and agreement. Anything you suck. You know, people are putting about my Patrick Mahomes tweet where I said that the Chiefs made the mistake of the draft and traded up and reached on Patrick Mahomes. It was stupid. I was wrong, completely wrong. Great, put it up. I made a mistake and I'm wrong. I may be wrong about Arch. He made me look really, really stupid. And if he does, I'll admit it. But you know, that's just life. You're wrong and you're right. So, but I brought it up today because it's interesting to me because getting back to the promo, let's say Arch Manning wasn't Arch Manning. Let's say he was one of these quarterbacks who send us their information and we look at it.
right.
They're not born on third base, so to speak. They got to earn it. And it's our job to help them earn it because we believe in them.
Absolutely. No, it's wild. Well, that's some amazing stuff. I mean, it's like the fan base is. I don't know how you deal with it over all those years, but I guess it's no different than anybody else getting disappointed with you for no reason whatsoever. But yeah, death threats—that's a little extreme. Geez. But that is there'd be nothing worse. There'd be nothing worse than somebody attacking you for disliking or liking a player. I would think to myself, "Oh my goodness, these people are crazy."
Imagine. Imagine I walk out the door and someone tackles me with a knife or something because I said Arch Manning might not be a 5-star. That's the world we live in, though. And I will tell you this: if they do, I will pummel them into submission because I got a lot of anger in me over 25 years of taking garbage, and I'm just waiting for one person to swing at me, and then I could just take it all out because no one's ever swung at me. So I may be old, but I got tricks.
You got tricks. You gotta have tricks. That's good.
I grew up watching boxing and the Tommy Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonards, and listen, my brothers. I'm the youngest of 4 with 2 older brothers, 5 and 10 years older than me. He used to beat the crap out of me. You're not going to find anybody tougher than someone whose brothers beat the crap out of them for all of their adolescence. So, I'm ready for that first one, but I'm not inviting it.
I miss the days when boxing with Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns.
So good.
There was a great what was the
4 Kings?
Yes, that was unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Now I was a huge Tommy Hearns fan. Huge. Like, okay, 85. I was 15 years old when he fought Marvin Hagler. And I remember being just so devastated because back then, it was pay-per-view and you had to go someplace. I had to go to the Hartford Civic Center to watch Roberto Duran and Tommy Hearns fight. And I didn't go to the pay-per-view for this. It was in April 15th, tax day. And so I got up that morning and I read the newspaper and it said Marvin Hagler knocks Tommy Hearns out in the third round. And I just dropped the newspaper, went back to bed, and I was devastated. I didn't even read about how it happened. And then, of course, you see the fight a week later on HBO. That's how things worked back then. As the biggest fan ever, and boxing was so much fun back then.
Oh,
And that Four Kings is still painful for me to watch because, yeah, I love watching him knock out Roberto Duran. I love watching him beat Sugar Ray Leonard in the rematch, even though he got robbed and they gave him a draw. But I don't like watching Sugar Ray beat him. I don't like watching Hagler beat him. But what a great documentary that was, The Four Kings on Showtime. And that's when boxing was boxing.
it was unbelievable. Tommy Hearns had such a great punch, but Hagler was so relentless. He was such a relentless boxer. He just kept stepping to you. Like every guy he fought. I mean, it was just. But
And the chin,
the
chin of granite. Hearns hit him with his best right hand in that first round. Best one. Hearns broke his knuckles on Hagler's head. Hagler took one step back and kept coming, and that's when he knew the fight was over.
Yep.
Hagler was just like a cinder block head, and
that's exactly.
And Sugar Ray Leonard danced around him for 12 rounds and didn't want it to be a 15-round fight, and they gave Sugar Ray Leonard the decision, and I was livid because Hagler is 10 times better a fighter than Sugar Ray. So those were the days, man. It was a lot of fun. Now boxing
and they were
sucks.
so, like boxers now, because I can't remember the weight of like, well, Pacquiao and them are a little bit lighter, but
135, those are lightweights.
Yeah. Hearns was 6'3"?
He was 6'1" and he's 147.
I mean, that's unbelievable. And Hagler was so built, you would think he weighed so much more, but he was, like there wasn't an ounce of he didn't have an ounce of fat. Not 1 ounce of fat. It's amazing.
And Hearns had a 78-inch wingspan at 147 pounds. Now, you and I know wingspan because of football.
Right.
78. I mean, that's why it was so hard to get to him. But if you got under that jab and if you got under those arms and you hit him, he went down. I mean, he wore out, and that was his problem. But, yeah, 147 pounds. And Duran started at 135 and went all the way up to 160 when he fought Hagler and lost a close 15-round decision. That's such a huge swing in weight, and that just shows how great he was. And then it's just – but they're little guys. They're 160 pounds. But Marvin Hagler could kick the crap out of anybody. I don't care who. So fun.
And boxing was so great, too, because obviously the heavyweights were great. And that moved into the Mike that was before the Mike Tyson era, but eventually
before Mike Tyson.
It was before Mike Tyson. And people don't realize that, like, Mike Tyson lost to Tyrell Biggs to make it to the Olympics in the gold medal, because Tyrell Biggs just stayed away from him the whole entire time. And Mike Tyson was. I remember my father saying this because I remember watching this. That was was that the 84? I think it was 84, right? Olympic, because Mike Tyson
either 84 or 88. I can't remember which, but probably 84. Probably 84.
He was a kid. I think he was 17 or years old, fighting Biggs, and Biggs just stayed away from him. And I remember my father just being in the Olympic trials, because he's from New York City, and he's just being frustrated because he said Biggs is just staying away from him. He's not gonna. He's like, he's not 1/10 the fighter of this guy, not 1/10. And he just wouldn't let Mike land that. He was hitting him, but he wouldn't let him land that big punch so he could. Yeah. And the way to score. Remember the scoring? The Olympic scoring was so frustrating back then, because Roy Jones Jr. I think was he the one that got disqualified when he was? Was it Roy Jones or was it Vander Holyfield? No, it was Holyfield. Wasn't it Holyfield who got disqualified and then finishing third?
I can't remember.
That was when Olympic boxing.
Well, here's the thing, too. Olympic boxing was also 3 rounds with headgear.
Right.
And the gloves were 16-ounce gloves. So when you put Mike Tyson over 15 rounds or 12 rounds with 12-ounce gloves and no headgear. It's a whole different story. Like Tyrell Biggs, that's great. You can stay away from him 3 rounds with these pillows on your hands and headgear. You fight him in real life in a boxing ring as a pro, you're getting destroyed.
I think he did fight him too. I think Mike
I
Tyson
think he
knocked him
got
out.
crushed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he got
And
crushed.
that's why the Buster Douglas fight was the most amazing fight I've ever seen in my entire life, because Buster Douglas wasn't good. And Buster Douglas I think his mom died like, a week before the fight. And he showed up in amazing shape and he was in Japan and he beat the living hell out of Tyson. And at that time, we thought Tyson was undefeatable. Like, and this guy, Buster Douglas, beats him as the fight of his life, and then loses the title in the next fight. But that's what makes it great about boxing is just like you just don't know what's in the heart of a guy, and that's why when you talk about quarterback and evaluation, you don't know what's between his ears.
No.
Matt Ryan ran a wing T offense in high school. Okay, I had to make him a 3-star. Matt Ryan is a Hall of Famer, I think.
Yeah.
In a first rounder, he should have been a Super Bowl MVP, should have been a Super Bowl champ. Had he won that game, he would be a Hall of Famer for sure. Wing T. How am I supposed to evaluate a dude who runs a wing T offense? He had like 4 offers. So Arch Manning, listen, it's guesswork. I don't know. Russell Wilson was a 2-star. He was too short. That didn't work out well for me. So it's just the way it is. You throw a dart at the dartboard sometimes, and you're right and you're wrong.
No doubt about it. Well, this was an awesome podcast. I really got. I can tell you this. I could do a podcast on boxing, and that would be if that paid the bills, I would do it because I enjoy it so much. Like I even enjoy Tyson Fury now. Like there's not a lot of great guys anymore.
Yeah.
But his toughness and how tough he is and
evasive. I mean, you can't hit him. It's hard to
can't hit him.
Yeah, there are some boxers that still intrigue me, and UFC is intriguing to me. But the boxing in the '80s and the early '90s was the pinnacle. And you could make an argument for the '70s with Ali and Frazier, and absolutely, from the late '60s into right around 1990 something to maybe when they started having IBF titles and WBO titles, and there were 6 titles per weight class and all this other garbage. That's when it got bad. But the 4 Kings, when they were at the pinnacle, and Marvin Hagler's dead, deceased. It's so sad. I mean, you want to talk
crazy.
about, and he died, I think 55 years old or something.
Well, he just died recently.
He did, like a year ago. But here's the thing, like I'm 52. I don't run 20 miles a day. I'm not in any shape whatsoever. And that guy died? Like, okay, I'm going to enjoy every day because there's no way Marvin Hagler couldn't be stopped. And Father Time got him. And Tommy Hearns is still around, but he's a little bit out there. He's taking a lot of punches. And Sugar Ray is like, there's nothing wrong with him. He's as articulate as ever. He looks like he's 35, just like he's just amazing. Roberto Duran looks like a bloated tick. He looks old and horrible. It's amazing how these guys age. And Hagler looked great.
He looked great. He was in great shape.
He was an actor in Italy. He was a professional actor, and he was in great shape, and then he died. So it's like it's the end of an era. But if you haven't seen 4 Kings, I read the book too. Really one of the best documentaries you're ever going to see, ever. And I don't even know how we got on boxing. Oh, because I was going to kick someone's ass.
Yeah, that's it.
Come at me. That's right. I think we could end there.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Another great podcast. Listen, check out myfootballcamps.com/D1 or nucsports.com/D1. We are it's what's so great about the evaluation part in the promo is you get to really look at a kid from a different perspective, a kid that you might not normally have looked at, and find, hey, this guy should be being recruited, and he should be recruited a lot more than he is. And it started out with a lot of linemen and quarterbacks with us, but now we're starting to get some skill players, which is really exciting. And take advantage of the opportunity to work with both me and Mike. and I'm always glad to answer questions on it. The quarterback that we just had sign up last night, Father asked me a bunch of questions. I gave him my cell phone. I let him, we went back and forth. I wanted to make sure that he understood what we were doing. And that's what it's about. Try to get him in a position. And I happened to see that quarterback as well last year at 7-on-7 tournaments. So when he might have been 7th grade at the time. He was a young kid. So
and the affiliate program too. We got Coach Glove on board now. We've got other affiliate, mentors, people that give advice on recruiting for the last 20 plus years are joining forces with us as well, and that's going to certainly help too. So it's fun. It's going to be exciting. At Farrell Promo, at Coach Schuman, at M Farrell Sports on Twitter. Listen, if I DM you about it, tell your parents at least.
Yep.
I mean, it costs money, yes, but so does everything in life. And tell your parents about it, because it might just be the one thing that you're missing that changes your trajectory in life, honestly, because you get your education potentially paid for. And even if you suck at football in college, that's a big deal too. So it could be life changing for a small amount.
No doubt about it. We'll end on that note. Until next week, we should be back on Monday. Legends Live with the two legends, the Godfather, Mike Farrell of recruiting.
4 Kings, the two legends. 4 Kings, 2 legends.
That's right. And I guess you would call me it used to be the Combine King, but
you got to come up with a nickname. I didn't give myself the Godfather nicknames, but somebody's got to give you a nickname.
Yeah. But, well, I did hear, and I told you this already. I heard Kenny Rogers on one of my Success for Life podcasts. So, I could use Kenny Rogers' money. They said, "Oh, you look like." I thought he was going to say, "Well,
that's a good one."
What do you say, Brad Pitt? What is he going to say, Brad Top? What's he going to say?
Right.
No, he says Kenny Rogers. I said Kenny Rogers.
But wasn't he? He was the gambler, right?
The Gambler, man. That's right.
Use that. There's your nickname,
Gambler.
The Gambler.
I'm the Gambler.
Godfather and the Gambler. That sounds like a cool podcast too. Right
That's a cool pod. We may have to change the name. I like that actually.
Might have to. I like it.
All right. Till next time.
See ya.
See ya.